Welcome back to the Ransom Notes podcast. It's me, Taylor Ransom, your boy Taylor Ransom. And it's good to be back on this show. I know I missed a few episodes. Guys, I was doing some stand-up for some friends at a conference. I don't know if you guys know this, but I do happen to be a comedian. And so I was doing some stand-up. I'm working on my stand-up sets pretty heavy right now because I want to be doing more of that next year. You'll be hearing more about that in the future. But I traveled a little bit, did a conference, got sucked into the green room culture. I don't know if you guys have ever been in a green room at a conference, but it's kind of nice. There's people bringing in, Perrier sparkling water. There's Greek food catering. There's an intern saying, "Sir, would you like the thermostat at 72.5 degrees or 72?" And, it's easy to get sucked in, okay? And in that environment, you're just like, man, does the world really need more podcasts? Does it need it? Or does it need me to stay in this green room and drink Perrier? And anyway, I came to my senses and I left, and now I'm back on the podcast. So thank you guys for hanging in there with me. We're going to be answering a big question today on the show that I get a lot. Pretty much anytime I do a Q&A or anytime I go live, people ask me this: what is my inspiration behind my content? We're going to be diving into that a little bit. What are my intentions? What is my thinking behind all of this? And it's going to be a good time, and you guys will learn a little bit more about what I do. But before we do that, I do want to make a big announcement, an announcement I've been wanting to make for a little while now, and I'm excited to be making it. And that is that this show has joined the Converge Podcast Network, which is an incredible podcast network. They have some great people over there, and they also have some other great shows in their network, convergepodcast.com. You can go there and check out their other shows if you'd like. They've got some great stuff to offer, and I'm happy to be in their network now. It's a great honor. It's a tremendous honor to be in this podcast network, and there'll be more from them down the road. Also, I want to say thank you to my Ransom Society members who help me make what I do, and we have some exclusive content coming out for you in the Ransom Society, if you want to check out the link in description. Thank you guys so much for watching, as always. Now, let's answer the big question. Why do I do what I do? What is my inspiration behind my comedy sketches? So people that have followed me for a while, if you're new here, you might not know that much about me, but if you followed me for a while, you kind of get the gist of it a little bit. I grew up in a very, very staunch Christian culture. Like a lot of my followers did in the 90s and the 2000s, 2010s mostly. And, that prompted a lot of things because and no hate towards anybody, I'm not trying to be negative, but I mean, if you grew up in that culture, you get it. Some days you wake up and you're like, I'm in a meme right now. Like, things are happening. My mom's putting anointing oil on my door, and I'm going to church today. I'm getting hit in the face from someone waving a flag. What's going on? And, through the course of that, if you're a comedian like I am, plenty of sources of material. There's no shortage of material anytime soon. I'm not running out of sketches. But with my content, some people think that, maybe I have some sort of motivation. I know a lot of people who are in the deconstructionist movement, and they like my content, but that's not me. I'm not a deconstructionist. I'm a Christian, 100%, and my content is largely made with the intention of just like, hey, this is what happened, this is what I've seen, and I wish somebody would make some content about this. If somebody else had made some content about this, and in the way that I have, focusing on this very direct culture, I probably wouldn't have made it. I probably would have made content about something else. But I saw it, and I'm like, the jokes are there. They have to be made. And so I started making it. And so some of it comes out of, my upbringing. I grew up in the Buckle, the Bible Belt. I was homeschooled K through 12. My parents have worked in church and been pastors for, most of my life in some capacity. And so I quite literally grew up in the church. Some people say they grew up in church and that meant they went there every Sunday. Like, no, I was doing math homework in the church on a Tuesday at 2 p.m. because that's where my parents worked. And so I've kind of seen everything in a way. I've seen a lot of things. And, it prompts a lot of jokes. Some of my jokes are heavily dramatized. I make jokes about megachurch security, for example, which is one of my favorite characters that I do. One of my favorite series that we have is megachurch security. And I've never seen any babies get tranquilized, okay? I've never seen that actually happen. But I have known guest speakers usually, who get upset over, kids crying in the sanctuary, and then the security like rushing to fix it, and so it's funny every time I see it happen, and I'm just like, well, I feel like, if we were really on our game here, the security would have tranquilizers, and so the jokes, they kind of write themselves a little bit. There's plenty of jokes that I do. The homeschool character that I do, which is the Every Christian Homeschooler Ever, is what those are usually titled. That was basically just me when I was like 12. That was literally just me. God's brought me a mighty long way. Okay. I had someone tell me the other day, it was like the greatest compliment I have ever received. I was at coffee with a guy who's working on a Christian TV series, and he was a great guy. And we were talking about stuff, and he said that he had no idea I was homeschooled. And he said, and I quote, "I could not tell you were homeschooled at all. You seem so normal." And I was like, oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. Thank you, Lord. A mighty long way. I have had deliverance, and I didn't even have to puke in a bucket. Can you imagine that? Real ones will get that joke. But that was 12-year-old me. I was watching Bible Man. I was going to Royal Rangers. I was begging my mom to let me be in a co-op. A lot of people do homeschool co-ops now, which were kind of, I don't know how long those have been around, but I didn't notice them until I was like in middle school. And they were cool. They were very cool because you were homeschooled for part of the week. And then normally like a couple days out of the week, you went to wherever your co-op met, and you were there with other kids. And it was awesome because you kind of got the best of both worlds, sort of. Most people would be like, they hated school. I've heard them all talk about how much they hate school. I probably would have loved it, to be honest. I wanted to go to school. Sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. I don't want to make it like that. I wasn't just constantly begging to go to school, but sometimes I thought about it and I thought it would be cool. So the 12-year-old homeschooler, the homeschool character, that was basically me when I was 12. And then God delivered me. Praise the Lord. And then I have like Church Karen. A lot of people bring up Church Karen. They think it's based on one person in particular. It's not. It's based on most of the women that I saw coming to my church for prayer meetings and women's conferences. And, it's to some extent, it's kind of based on my mom to a certain extent. My mom isn't crazy. She's not like Church Karen like that all the time. But some of the ways that I say things are the way that my mom would say things. And so people bring that up. But, my mom loves the character. So no problem there. And Church Karen is just like, when we would go to the church conference, and not even women's conferences, by the way, I should preface that. We would go to the Bible Prophecy Conference. That's a fun conference there, the Bible Prophecy Conference. And there would be like an army of 500 Church Karens there. I remember one time I was sitting next to one of them, and she was clearly a Church Karen, okay? She had the shawl, she had the tambourine, praise and worship was happening, and I'm like standing there, and I'm just like, doing my thing and being respectful and, just going through the motions, doing the deal. And I turn her, and she's got her tambourine. She's just going crazy on it. And then she, for some reason, whatever prompted it, I don't know. She would probably say it was the Holy Spirit. I don't know. Maybe she would, maybe she wouldn't. I don't know. She decides to get her shofar out. If you don't know what a shofar is, it's basically a ram's horn that they've drilled the inside of out, and it becomes a sort of trumpet. You've probably seen it in some of my videos. She pulls one out of her purse. She had that thing on standby. She had the shofar at the ready. She grabs the shofar out of her purse. She brings it up to her mouth to blow it, so she can draw as much attention to herself as possible, obviously. And she doesn't know how to blow it. She's obviously never blown one before. If you're an experienced homeschooler like me, you know how to blow a shofar. You have to make raspberries with your mouth, basically, on the end of the shofar. She didn't know how to do this. She thought she could just blow into it. And so she blowed. She went, and nothing came out. And then she looked at the shofar so disappointedly. And she put it back in her purse. I think about that all the time when I make the Church Karen videos for some reason. I don't know. That always comes back to me. I think it has to do with just like the amount of effort, the amount of thinking behind it, but then somehow failing in the execution. It's kind of a reoccurring trend with Church Karens. It's like they mean well. They mean really well. It just, in execution, something goes wrong. And so that's kind of, that character. People ask about senior global pastor. Am I ever going to show that character? That's the one character that I have referenced in so many videos, but I never show that character. And that's because I'm actually saving him for the Daddy's House Church reboot, by the way. I don't know if you know I'm doing that, but we're going to reboot the entire universe and make the characters even better, more funnier, and introduce a lot of new characters. And we're going to have some overlapping plot lines and more characters in each video. So some videos will still be just one character, but I want to do multiple characters in more videos. I just feel like it's more fun. And they'll be a little bit more cinematic in a way. But Senior Global Pastor isn't based on anybody in my head either. He's more of just a culmination of a lot of different people, a lot of different leaders I've seen in church culture. So you'll be seeing him soon, and then I have like the associate pastor on my page. The associate pastor character is fun. I've done one video with him, but I can't wait to do more, because the associate pastor is like, I've seen that position in church my whole life, and they just always get the blunt end of the stick. It's like they're second in command. They're not, they don't, people love them. A lot of times they're like the actual pastor of the church, especially in a mega church. This is really how it goes. Senior global pastor doesn't really talk to anybody in the church, but the associate pastor does. The associate pastor is the guy who does the hospital visits. He's the guy that goes and gives out the food baskets and like actually does a lot of the day-to-day pastoral stuff. And then senior global pastor, he's busy at Mar-a-Lago. He's coming back to the church to preach on Sunday, and then he's going out for a conference he's talking at in Europe or something. And so that's kind of how that goes with the assistant pastor. And then, we have other characters as well. We have like megachurch janitor, which is totally fictional, completely fictional. Megachurch janitor. He's like a mob boss, basically. He's like the axe man or the fixer for the church. And I just think it's funny. I just thought it was funny. That's not based on anything that I know of real. And so, there's a lot of characters on my page. The megachurch consultant is one that I do, and that is a real character. I know a whole lot of megachurch consultants. Personally, I think I should start a megachurch consulting firm at this point, because I've seen some of these PR decisions that some of these people make, and I'm like, hey, listen, I could totally help you with this. I could totally do it. And I think about that sometimes, actually. So that character, he's kind of like a Steve Jobs-esque, very direct deal, And so, again, all of these characters that I have, and this isn't even all of them. This is like probably half of them, maybe. But those are like the ones that just come to mind. There's this common thread kind of weaved between them, which basically says that the church kind of needs to go back to what a lot of my friends would call Christian orthodoxy. We need to get back to the foundations of our faith. And it's not anything... Look, let me put it this way. There's absolutely nothing wrong with a church being big. Absolutely nothing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with a church being huge. Matter of fact, in history, the church in Ephesus, which the letter, the book Ephesians in the Bible, that was written to the church at Ephesus, and that church, historians will tell you, had anywhere between 10 and 30,000 members. So we had big churches even back in the early church days. The amount of people in a church it has no bearing on how good a church is. It just all comes down to organization, and it comes down to the leadership. So I don't have any vendetta against megachurches. I just find it hilarious. I find the green rooms hilarious. I find the security teams hilarious. I find the church Karens hilarious. I find, the PR disasters are hilarious. They're always funny to me most of the time, unless someone's like actually being harmed, then it's not funny. But sometimes they're funny, you got to admit, sometimes it's funny. Sometimes it's funny, not when it's really serious, but you know what I mean. And I just find it funny. So as a comedian, like that's the world I grew up in. That's what I know. If I was going to go try to make jokes about like baseball teams, it would not be funny because I don't know anything about it. But what I do know is church. And so that's just sort of been, where the inspiration for it comes from. And then when I first started making videos, I wasn't really thinking about, oh, this is going to be a career one day or whatever. I didn't think about that at all. I just thought, oh, this would be funny and it would be fun to make. And I think my friends will laugh. And so I started making stuff and I put it out there and stuff just started, I kept getting traffic, people kept liking the videos I was making. So I just kept making stuff. And now we're here today and I'm talking to you, on a podcast, which is kind of crazy. And so, where are we going in the future? A lot of my stuff I'm working on right now is more stand-up comedy. I want to be doing more stand-up next year. I think that it's a ton of fun. I have so much fun doing stand-up with an actual live audience. And then 2, I really want to go into acting, which is actually what I feel like comes most naturally to me, to be honest. And so, I get to have fun and play with that on my page a little bit. And, my motivation is to, 1, celebrate the good in my upbringing and in what I've done. And a lot of it I'm nostalgic for. A lot of it I love. And then 2, I never really go into a video with like, oh, I'm going to make a point today, because when people do that, everybody knows you're doing it and it's not funny. It's not funny. Like, don't try to make a point. Just have a good time and make what, comes to you naturally to make. And that's what I do. And so we have a good time on the internet. I'm doing streams now. I did a live stream last night that was a ton of fun. We have the podcast. I'm doing sketches, regularly. We're about to be doing a lot more sketches and I'm excited about where we go. We're just going to keep people laughing. We're going to keep having a good time. And, I think it's going to be fun and I'm glad that you're along for the ride. So that's generally my thinking behind what I'm doing. We're here for a good time. Okay. And, I don't really have intentions further than that. I'm a comedian. I mean, that's what I do. I provide entertainment for people and it doesn't have to be more serious than that for me. Like for some people, some comedians, they feel like they have to interject some sort of message into everything that they do. It's like, do you though? Do you though? But, on my social media, I am very open. I'm open about my beliefs in the world. You can see it on my Instagram stories. I've put out some podcasts on here, where we talk a little bit about politics. I don't want this show to just be a political show or anything. So right now, if I cover news, it's kind of hard to cover anything else because that's pretty much all that's happening. But, at the end of the day, we're having a good time. I want to celebrate the good and poke fun at the weird stuff. And just, serve the community. And that's what we're doing. So I hope that answers that question a little bit today. Thank you for watching and listening to this show. I appreciate it a lot. And also, I did want to let you know I am going to be streaming more regularly on twitch.tv/Taylor Ransom. If you want to hop in there and ask me a question yourself, you can always do that. We're going to be playing some Call of Duty, some Black Ops 6. Having a lot of fun playing that with my friends, and so we're going to be doing that. And want to thank you again for listening to the show. You can expect shows from me every weekday now on my YouTube channel and wherever you listen to audio podcasts. So thanks again for watching that. Thanks again for supporting me through Ransom Society. I appreciate that, and we've got some great stuff coming for you guys soon. So thanks again for watching. I'll have another episode for you tomorrow. We'll probably cover some news or a trending topic, and it's going to be a good time. So I'll see you then.